Hello everybody and welcome back, where today we're talking Zombie Army VR on PSVR2. Now this game has been delayed a couple of times, but it's finally here, and the question on everyone's mind is it any good? Well, I would say overall, yes. But before we get into it, only 25% you are subscribed, so please feel free to do so, and thank you to our patrons and members who are all on screen right now. With that being said, let's talk Zombie Army VR. Visually, Zombie Army comes off pretty strong. There's a bit of shimmering in the far distance, but for the most part it looks quite sharp in the headset. It does run reprojected at 60Hz, and I did find that the reprojection in the hands felt a little bit more wobbly than some other games I played. For example, Hitman, I can definitely see the ghosting, but in Zombie Army it just was a bit more pronounced. Overall though, the game does feel pretty smooth to play, and visually you're getting a decent experience here. It looks very similar to how it looks in the flat screen in the footage you're seeing right now. As a PSVR2 port, Rebellion, the developers, have put to use all of the PSVR2 features here. For explosions near you, your head haptics will go off. For each gun, you have a different style of adaptive trigger, and haptics in the controllers are fully utilised. For a genre like zombie shooters, which are quite saturated and in my opinion haven't really excited me for a while, the use of some of these features and overall the presentation of Zombie Army VR was enough to impress me. What didn't quite impress me though was the story. It was just fine. You're following a linear path here, it's not an open world game, as you go around completing objectives, defending against zombies, uncovering a dark secret, and then trying to stop the end of the world, essentially. It did have plenty of twists and turns throughout its 4.5 hour long runtime, at least for me playing on normal difficulty, but a lot of them I did see coming, and yeah, there were no like wow moments, but it's enough to kind of string you along and give you a good objective to fight towards while you go through the gameplay loop. And the gameplay itself is pretty fun. Shooting zombies feels weighty, the weapons are fun to interact and reload with, and that moment-to-moment gameplay was definitely enough to keep me engaged from point to point. However, it did get a bit repetitive towards the latter half of the game, and by the last couple of missions, I was just kind of begging it to throw something new at me, but it doesn't really do so. If you spread out your play sessions, then I reckon it'll be less arduous, but just towards the last half an hour or so, I did find that it dragged a tiny bit. But that may just be because, again, I played through this game in 2 sittings of 2 hours and 15 minutes, so my view there is a little bit skewed. Overall though, the gameplay is fun. This is a fun zombie shooter that feels satisfying to play, and in co-op especially, you're probably going to have a great time. Although, due to my limited time with the game and having to complete it, I didn't get the chance to try out co-op, but co-op makes every VR game better, so I'm sure it's the same here. You have quite a few guns that you can use throughout the game. Each of them are upgradable with 4 different upgrades, for example, extended mag, increased damage, better handling, and some with different effects such as getting health regen upon headshots with a sniper rifle, and you'll find upgrade kits around the map, and you'll get upgrade kits from completing missions which you can use to then put towards these weapons. It is possible to miss these weapons as you go through the game, but they are pretty obviously signaled to you. You'll find a new assault rifle or pistol or sniper rifle, and it'll swap out with your current one, and then between missions in your safe house, you'll be able to decide which weapons you want to take into the next ones. There are also collectibles around that you can find, including different paints, little dolls, and hands, which are just there for you to kind of search around and spend some time looking for them. Overall, the gunplay feels pretty decent. You can't two-hand pistols though, which feels a little bit odd. But the upgrades to the guns really feel like they matter, and the gunplay is satisfying, especially when you're blowing off limbs left, right, and centre. I found the different equipment in the game pretty fun too. You can find grenades, mines, pipe bombs, and dynamite throughout each of the stages. And as you go through Zombie Army's campaign, you'll find different types of these equipment. For example, grenades that explode, grenades that distract zombies, grenades that slow zombies, with alternate effects. For example, the slowness grenades also heal you if you stand in them, so some of them have multiple uses, and this breaks up the flow of combat in different ways and allows the moment-to-moment gameplay to breathe a little bit, which is very appreciated. The basic loop of the game is pretty much the same all the way through. You enter an area, you defend the area, you move on and do that again and again and again until the mission ends, and each mission took between 15 to 25 minutes for me. These stages are broken up at the end of a couple of them with different boss fights. I think there were 3 in total, but they all use the same sort of structure, so you kind of know what's coming after the first one. But it is quite satisfying to hurl shots towards an enemy boss after defeating its waves to see that satisfying Sniper Elite style kill cam, which does return here and is very welcome. Having that X-ray view of a zombie getting its brains exploded is horrendous, but in the best possible way. Towards the tail end of the campaign though, one gripe that I did have is that the levels are reused. It fits in the story, but yeah, going through the last 3 or so levels and playing the levels that you've already done at the start but backwards was a little bit of a letdown, but you do get a new-ish environment at the very end of that, But yeah, it just seemed like they were saving resources, which is fair enough. Obviously, Rebellion isn't like a massive AAA dev team with loads of resources to make tons of environments, but you do take different routes throughout these areas. It just is, the same architecture, the same buildings, to be completely transparent. You do have a lot of different zombie types in this game, though. It's been a while since I played the Sniper Elite series and the Zombie Army series, so I'm not sure if these are carried over from the flat screen games, but from my count, you've got runners, walkers, exploding zombies, snipers, grenadiers, gunners, healers, and armored zombies. This does introduce different dynamics to the gameplay and allows you to take different strategies depending on what's being thrown at you, and pushes you towards using one of the different 3 weapons in your loadout. So you have your primary, which is your sniper rifle, your secondary, which is your assault rifle, and then your pistol. So some of these enemies, like snipers for example, will encourage you to take out your sniper rifle and take a shot at them, whereas the heavily armored enemies will encourage you to take out your assault rifle and start blasting away, or maybe use an explosive, so this is very welcome. Different types of zombies also drop their items, so gunners and healers will drop ammo and health kits respectively, which has a different dynamic to the fight also, and I really appreciated that being thrown in there, so you can strategically plan on which to kill first to keep surviving as long as possible. Some of you may also be wondering if the game is that scary, and for me, I'm awful with horror. I get scared really easily. I was just playing Lethal Company in VR the other day, and it was absolutely horrendous. I was shitting myself. But Zombie Army is more action than horror. It's not really a horror-focused and horror-motivated game. There are a couple of moments where zombies will run up on you, especially the exploding suicide ones, and they'll really kind of scream at you, and it got me a couple of times, but in terms of how the game's actually designed, with its atmosphere, it's a lot more action, and that's not really a criticism of the game. It's definitely what the dev team wanted to go for, but if you're looking for a really scary experience, I would say look elsewhere. If you're looking for a Nazi zombies feeling game, and you want that action, COD-like experience, that's what you're going to get here. As for accessibility, Zombie Army VR can be played seated or standing with teleport or smooth movement, snap turning, smooth turning, and also adjustments for where your belt is and where all your items can be grabbed from, which is much appreciated. As you're playing through the game, you can also store items in your pouch, which you bring up by pressing X, and you can bring out 3 items at a time to use during your adventures. I also just want to point out that the sniper rifles in this game don't use picture-in-picture scopes, so you can't look down the scope like in real life. You put it up to your eye and then your entire vision becomes that reticle, which is a little bit off-putting at first, but I did get used to it. Penultimately, I want to talk about sound as well. The sound design here is quite punchy. I found that the handgun sound design especially was quite loud and quite impactful, but each melee weapon impact or bullet impact was squelchy and nice and horrible in exactly the way that you'd want it to be in a Zombie Army VR game. And finally, you did just hear me mention melee weapons for the first time in this video, but I'm sure that you've seen them on screen because I use them a lot. The game has melee weapons kind of scattered all over each of its levels, and you pick them up and they have a limited durability, but they are so much fun to use. Going around and bonking zombies on the head was just a fantastic fun experience, and I definitely appreciated that they were thrown in here. Every time that I could get a melee weapon, I used it, and that's how fun they were. So overall, good experience. Overall, I did properly enjoy my time with Zombie Army. Again, it got a bit stale towards the last 20 or 30 minutes, but if I'd broken up my play sessions more, I'm sure it would have kind of been a bit fresher. But the gunplay is good, the zombies are satisfying to kill. There are a couple of issues with, repetitive nature and design, but overall for me, this just needed to be a solid 7 out of 10 zombie shooting game that's fun with a friend, and I'm sure it is, even though I haven't played co-op. But I've heard good things about the co-op, just like, for example, the Arizona Sunshine series for me, and it seems to just hit all of those beats. If you want that classic Nazi zombies feel in virtual reality, then you're not really going to go wrong with Zombie Army VR, despite the couple of issues that I've talked about. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Are you going to be picking up Zombie Army VR? Please do let me know. Again, I did enjoy my time with it despite the issues, and I would recommend it to any Zombie Army fans who are looking for that experience, but with an immersive twist. Thank you all so much for being here, and I hope to see you all in the next one.